Hey everyone, welcome to today's video. Now, today I wanted to just speak about some of the considerations that a lot of players, take into account when they're trying to pick their weapon. Now, I know most folk come to the base of operations and they test their DPS and say, yay, I can deal 1 million DPS. But that's an arbitrary number because there's a little bit of that science that's there, which will make you change your mind if you see some things or not. And these depends on factors like base damage of your weapon, the RPM, the handling, the talent, and most importantly, your preference. Because if a player decides to run a weapon because it does more damage that somebody says it does and they don't like it, then they may have an unpleasant experience. So you can't take away player preference from all of it. The human psyche is just that way. Nonetheless, the science behind choosing your weapon is not complicated at all. It's actually very simple. And you can build around a weapon if you want, or you can finish your build and then pick out a weapon to complete the whole thing. So either way, you're having to make these decisions because sometimes you may also find two weapons that you like and they may not necessarily work out for you, or one of them may actually work out while another may not. So all these decisions you have to take into things like time to kill, accuracy, and all that stuff to kind of see if you're using the very best weapon. You can come to the base of operations and do a lot of that stuff, or you can go hard and you use some math. So let's do some of that because I promised the math video last week, and this is it. I wanted to drop this video for you math geeks out there. So here we go. Now, let's assume that you already have your build with all its glorious numbers, damage to elites. If you want to do crit chance, crit damage, and all that stuff, you get your buffs and talents from your specializations. You get your mods all in there and all that good stuff. And first thing you do is you want to test how much damage it takes to knock out an elite NPC, maybe, or maybe a veteran NPC. And so what you need to do is just come in here, and if you want, you can find out how much it would take for them to go down, or in my case, I already calculated it. It takes about 600,000 HP in damage to take out an elite NPC. Now, the numbers exactly that I calculated were actually 578,668. So we're going to use this number for our calculations, and I've taken two of my favorite weapons, the Infantry MG5 and the M249B. Now, in the Division 2, the Infantry MG5 is no longer like one of the weapons I would run, but I ran a lot of it in the first Division game, so it holds dear to my heart. So my MG5 here deals about 14,900. After all talents and mods and everything, it has an RPM of about 840. And so for me to find out how many bullets it would take to deal this 578,668 HP, all I do is just do some math. So I divide 576,000 HP by the base damage of my weapon. And so that gives me 38 bullets from my Infantry MG5. And in the case of my M249, that one hits for 17,800. I will need about 32 bullets. So the next question is, how fast can I output this damage? Because yes, I may be able to deal a lot of that damage, but then how fast can I deal it? And so this is what might make the difference in some cases. In some weapons, you might want to see how fast one weapon will output damage over another, or how a weapon can, finally deal its damage per second. So in the case of the MG5, the way to just do a small, simple time to kill calculation is finding out your RPM. So that will be a minute divided by the RPM that I have for my MG5, which is 840 multiplied by the amount of bullets. So in the case of the MG5, I'm going to be looking at 2.7 seconds, while in the case of the M249, I'm going to be looking at 3.2 seconds. So when you take that into account, it looks like the MG5 can deal that amount of damage in pretty much half a second less time than the M249. Now, these are numbers that are just regarding the time to kill, if in a sense. So the next thing you want to consider is your reload speed and your sustained damage. Now, I know some of you have already perked up your ears the moment you saw that MG5 was behaving better, and you're about to jump in the comment section, but hold off. Reload speed and sustain are things that you need to consider, because if you look at the magazine size of the M249, it is literally twice the amount of the Infantry MG5, about 100% more in the magazine capacity. So when you think about that, then you move on and say, okay, so what is the reload speed? Because if I were to encounter maybe 2 or 3 of these elite NPCs, am I going to be able to, in a sustained way, take them down without reloading too much? Considering that the average reload speed between these two is 5.5 seconds. That is crazy. That is inherently a big reduction to your DPS if you had to sit there and reload more times than you need to. So if you look at both of them in that regard, you find out that the M249B is starting to take the lead, because you're going to have to reload at least 50% less because you have more bullets to deal that damage. So that 0.5 seconds that you're here, saving with your MG5 now becomes irrelevant when you're shooting a horde of NPCs. So at the end of the day, it comes down to preference nonetheless. If I still wanted to run an MG5, I would have to find a way to do it, because I found some comments also here, people telling me that the CTAR is good, and I think it is, but I'm not a fan of the weapon because I just don't really like its accuracy. I can't, it's not like I don't like its accuracy, it's just, I just don't like the weapon anymore. I used to like it when I was leveling up, but then once I discovered the P416, and I've been getting some high damage rolls with those, I just prefer it. So I might maybe get a CTAR that challenges my P416s, and I may run it if I find out that it's actually beneficial from doing these mathematical calculations. But for now, I'll just say that player preference is a very important aspect of picking out the weapons, because some people may not like the infantry, they may not like the M249B, even though it does the best sustained damage among the two of these weapons that I've shown you, and they'll still run with the MG5, even though the MG5 does have some more headshot damage. In some cases, I think there was something regarding the balancing, but that's not what we're basing anything on right now. If you're running with a sharpshooter specialization, though, then with the extra reload speed bonus, that can probably come in handy. So there's so many things that go into it, not only just coming here and sitting there and saying, oh, this is my DPS, but looking at the numbers and the performance and knowing exactly how it is the weapon is going to work for you. So maybe you're using the demolitionist and you're getting that 15%, base damage. That may not be the best way to run your MG5. Perhaps reducing your reload speed and getting more weapon handling while you're running a talent like Unhinged, like this one has Unhinged. And so you're starting to see that there are many factors you have to consider, because yes, TTK here and DPS there might not give you the real picture. In fact, if you want to really know how well you're going to perform, I think the best place to check it out is in the accuracy section here in the base of ops and the range, in the firing range. Everybody wants to go shoot at static NPCs, when in reality the NPCs do not behave like that. The way they behave is here in the accuracy, what am I call it, the accuracy part of the whole shooting range, where the target is constantly moving, because these NPCs are very, very skittish. So this is pretty much the science, in a sense, in a very short and brief, sweet form, on how players pick their weapons. You come here, you do some testing, get some numbers down. Don't just stick with the DPS number. Look at your RPM, look at your build, look at your specialization, and look at how accurate this weapon can deal damage for you. Because once you take the M249 and you take the MG5, then accuracy and how fast you can burst down an enemy that's moving now starts to sway your mind a little bit. Because with the MG5, you may be able to put in about 7 rounds into an NPC while they're moving, versus maybe the M249, you might only be able to put in 3 rounds before they jump into cover. So a lot of things go into it. It's not too difficult, but they're just realistic pictures that many of us use while picking our weapons. So if you're new to the Division 2 game, ask yourself these questions. If you're a veteran, also, you can do the same thing as well. And if there are any other questions or any other considerations that you guys in the community feel like players can actually consider while picking their weapons, please leave them in the comment section below. So that's all I have for today. Simple math outlook. I really enjoyed doing these, and I just want to say thank you guys for your time and audience, for your support, for even encouraging me to put out this video even. And I guess I'll see you in the next video. Peace.